some ice and it's a little too fragile. You hear the cracking, you ain't confident. What's your take on when you mean the confidence?
You might not be confident of the crack, but you could be confident, and you do cold plunges every day. So I'm confident that if I fall, I'm going to be perfectly fine. I'm confident that I can swim.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey where our podcast released a new epi, searching for a faith feeling, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, text friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talking with Donato.
Welcome in, everyone. This episode is Change Your Mindset with our guest, Garrain Jones. Season 2, episode 85. Garrain, in this episode, I'm excited. I know that you're a transformation coach, a speaker, best-selling author. I know your journey from homelessness to prison. You've achieved massive success. That's nothing short of inspiring. I expect, Garrain, that you'll be able to share your powerful mindset shifts that changed your life, the importance of embracing discomfort, how anyone can break free from limiting beliefs to unlocking their true potential. And I think everyone who watches this, they'll be ready for a conversation filled with wisdom, energy, practical steps to help transform their life. Garrain, thanks for joining us today.
Brother Donato, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so grateful and honored that you were brave enough, one of the few people who are brave enough to put out their creativity in podcasts so stories like mine can have wings. So thank you for having me on.
No, you know, that's one of the best things, Garrain, is sometimes it's very easy for us to be just distracted about all the hurdles, all of the setbacks. As I said, this is season 2, episode 85, and we did probably 220 episodes in season 1. There are a lot of people that won't make it this far. When it comes to you, could you tell us, what would you say to a person that, to your point, has to put themselves out there? They're chasing a dream, and there's been hurdles, there's been setbacks. I'd like to start off with, if you came across someone like that, what would be one of the first things that you would say to them?
Well, one, I would not chase anything unless I knew where I was going, because you can't hit a target that you don't have. And a lot of times, if you dig in a little bit deeper, many people's chief aim and targets and their goals are very surface level. And what you want is not a goal that you can find in your head. What you want is a target or an aim or a goal that vibrates in your body. Like there's something that lights your body up, because intelligence, and you know, we've been taught that intelligence is, you learn this, you take this, you get this master's degree and everything. And it's like, that's a really intelligent person. No, what intelligence actually is, it actually highlights people with a really good memory.
Yeah.
Like if you really think about it, you study this, and you can say these words, but oftentimes people that can say a lot of really big words, it does not equate to being a really good father or a mother or intimacy or everything. So the true intelligence is found in the wisdom of the body, the inherent wisdom of the body. And so if I found somebody who was stuck, or maybe they were all over the place with their energy. I want to do this. I want to get these t-shirts, and I want to do this. I want to start selling cars and all this other stuff. I would have them question, and I would ask them questions that's pertaining to, what is it that you really want to do? And maybe I have to dig a little bit deeper, because sometimes people will say the first thing on their mind, oh, I want to be successful. Well, why do you want to be successful? Well, I want to be successful because I want freedom. Well, what does freedom represent to you? Well, freedom means I can do anything that I want. Well, okay, can you do anything that you do want now? No. Okay, what can't you do? Well, I can't be successful. I said, that's a lie, because you can be successful at being bad at something. You can be successful at excuses. So now we start to dig in. The more you ask questions, you can see how unclear most people are.
Yeah.
And you put a specific address in the GPS system, it gives you 5 different ways to get there. But if you put a janky address expecting to get to a specific place, and you even leave one letter, one number off my address, you won't come to me.
Yeah.
Even in the GPS system. So in this universal GPS system, clarity brings confidence, and confidence starts from within. And within you can't have confidence without trust. So trust, confidence, clarity, and direction is what I would sit people down, and based off their answers, I can always tell when somebody's clear, they're focused, if they're grounded, if they're confident. They're not if they're searching for things in their mind, which means they've disassociated from the body. And all I want is I can spend 30 minutes with somebody trying to discover what is the response or the goal that is connected to the vibration in the body that lights the body up. Because the inherent wisdom in the body is a gazillion times smarter than anything that a human can come up with. And we're multi-dimensional beings because we have dreams and intuition and things like that.
Yeah.
But we live in this 3D meat suit. But in America, we're taught to read linearly, which means we think linearly, and our actions are linearly, but we're multidimensional beings.
Yeah.
So what I would do is ask questions based off of their multidimensional self. And if everything is on the surface level, that'll tell me why they don't have what they have, because they're not clear in their body, and their body is disassociated from the vibration behind the words. When those are connected, you'll have your results every single time.
Okay, so the first thing you said was trust. I think that's hard, Garrain. It's hard for all of us to trust people. I believe. I really think people struggle with that. And
I didn't say trust people.
What was that?
I didn't say trust people. It has nothing to do with anybody outside of you.
Trust in yourself.
Trust, period. Because people comes after trust. So when somebody says, I don't trust him, take away him, you're ultimately saying, I don't trust myself. Because everything outside of you is a reflection of what's inside of you, or a portion of inside of you. So when you say, I don't trust, no, I'm a trusting person. I'm a trusting person, and I trust myself fully. You will see a life completely manifested, completely different, based off the vibration, the frequency of trust, not the action of trust. Well, I do trust. No. Do you really? How come you haven't put your podcast out? How come you haven't put your book out? How come you didn't ask the girl out? How come you haven't left a job that you know is like literally draining you of your soul, and you stay there because of the benefits that's killing you?
Yeah.
So when people say they trust, then I'll put their trust to the test, and then you can look at their life and their actions. You can say you trust, but if your actions don't match someone that is living a life of trust, which brings about confidence, you can clearly see it.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's go to that other one. You said confidence. I'd like your read on the confidence. What I attest, confidence is what a person projects. Confidence is how a person moves. If you're walking across some ice and it's a little too fragile, you hear the cracking, you ain't confident. What's your take on when you mean the confidence?
You might not be confident of the crack, but you could be confident, and you do cold plunges every day. So I'm confident that if I fall, I'm going to be perfectly fine. I'm confident that I can swim. And so here's my take. I was coaching a young lady the other day, and she said, I have an issue with my confidence. I said, no, you don't. She's like, how could you say that? You don't even know me. I said, do you brush your teeth every day? She said, yep. I said, do you take showers often? Yep. I said, do you prepare your own food sometimes? Yep. I said, what's your name? Janelle. What's your last name? Brown? How tall are you? 5'3". What size shoe do you wear? 6. I say every single one of those responses were confident. Why? Because the continuous repetition until the adaptation of confidence became the byproduct of continuous repetition. You could be confident in insecurity, confident in, you understand, it doesn't necessarily mean a positive thing, because energy can't be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. I think that people put their energy in a direction that doesn't foster the elevation of their spirit, and then say that they have issues with certain things. They actually don't, but they may not see where they're actually successful in being consistent, in being confident, in success. Well, like, I have an issue with success. No, you don't. You successfully have excuses every single day, and that is a success. The issue is in you being able to define what your version of success is. So therefore, you just put a blanketed statement out in the universe, and it gave you exactly what you asked for.
Garrain, if there's a person, hopefully, before they started down a path that got them lost in life, maybe they seen this episode or another episode. I'm not saying my podcast has to be the one, but
your podcast is the one.
I appreciate that. Until they've heard from you, and then even after, sometimes we get that shot in the arm and we're ready to go. And further down the line, we need another re-up. How can a person find those positive people like the statements that you're saying right now? How can you guide us into surrounding ourselves with this kind of energy? I'm talking good energy.
So I'll share with you this. When a mother who's never been a mother knows that she's about to have a baby, the moment that she finds out she's pregnant, she starts getting every book that she can. She starts asking people, what's a good book on pregnancy, whatever. What are some names? Let me start taking some parenting classes and everything so that I can prepare for what is coming.
Yes.
So it's innate. It's innate in all of us. The thing about it is to not realize that school never stopped. Like the formula for school. When you didn't know ABCs, you had a teacher.
Yeah.
That were teaching you the fundamentals of the ABCs.
Yes.
And then you were surrounded by a community of kids. White, black, some all white schools, some black schools, all Mexican schools, Hispanic schools, whatever the case may be, wherever there was ABCs, everybody learned ABCs in that class, whether you had rich parents, poor parents, whatever. So there was something really powerful about a community of people who are learning similar things simultaneously. And then there is a teacher, an educator, a mentor that can pull out of them when at the time they weren't able to pull out of themselves. This is why fifth graders don't teach themselves how to get out of fifth grade. And so what I learned was, anytime I want to grow, I don't just rely on myself. I rely on the way I've always learned, which is having a mentor in my life, having somebody who's done it before, having somebody, because they're going to teach me how to compress time frames, finding a community of positive, goal-driven people. Like, I search for it. I don't wait for it to come for me. Like, when I moved to Austin, Texas, and, I knew some people here, but, like, a lot of people that I knew, they were just in one. There was like the spiritual community, and I was like, I want to meet an entrepreneur community. I want to meet the black entrepreneur community out here. I want to meet many different types of people. So I went on Facebook. I didn't have to pay for it. And I looked up black entrepreneurs in Austin. I looked up musicians in Austin. I looked up facilitators in Austin. I looked up entrepreneurs in Austin. And I signed up for 15 different groups. And then I said, hey, I'm about to move to Austin. Here's a bit about my background. Just wanted to hope I get to meet you guys. And so I introduced myself into the community. By the time I made my way around Austin, the who's who scenes and the spiritual scenes and all these different things, people are like, I saw your post inside of this one group and inside of this other group. And so I pursued the community that I was looking for. And you can find, whether it's moms, whether it's fitness, whether it's, bisexual, gay, trans community, like whatever it is, there is somebody has started a community. And so when you go and surround yourself around the community of people who are living in the direction that you want to go to, that is how you unearth from where you are and not have to try to do it by yourself. You can do it by yourself. You're just going to take the long route. But when you get many ideas and shared, and I'm going to say that again, positive, goal-driven community of people who are living in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah.
Because there's a shared, the way that they're communicating, there's a shared, the way that they're investing is shared, what they're talking about, what they're posting. There's a shared economy. There's energy, frequency, and vibration is all a form of language.
Yeah.
That's why somebody who wants to learn French would do better by going to France in the community, immersing themselves in the culture, rather than pecking at Rosetta Stones for 15 minutes once a week and be like, man, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? And you're just getting the basics, but you're not getting the culture.
Yeah. I want to come back to something you said. When you said finding a mentor, Garrain, where were you at when you realized, man, that was the best mentor for me? Who is that person that when you look back, you're like, that was the one, whether we took advantage or not?
Yeah.
Who would that be for you?
When I was in 2010, I was close to $250,000 in debt. I had tried to take my life twice, ex-convict, was living in my car for 2.5 years, mom dying in the hospital, girlfriend had just broken up with me. I was in the dark of the darkest times. Somebody passed me a video by Eric Thomas. You want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. That was the first piece of content I ever watched that made me cry and think about my whole life. So I just started listening to everything Eric Thomas was posting. But that one video, Succeed as Bad as You Want to Breathe, I just kept playing it over because I had never in my life up until that moment approached anything as bad as I wanted to breathe. So it made me think about any actions that I was taking. That was the conversation that I needed. It didn't even need to be in person.
Yeah.
It's like when the energy is there, let me tell you something. I've had some of the greatest breakthroughs on a Zoom call where I was coaching someone else. And so, yeah, it was Eric Thomas. And then all of a sudden I was like, maybe there's more people who talk like this. And then there was like Jim Rohn and John C. Maxwell and Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill. And, I just started like really going. I was like, wow, there's like more people. They're all saying the same thing, but in a different way. And I like every time I listen to this, something happens inside of me. But I never grew up with any mentors. I grew up with people that were doing the same shit that I was doing.
Yeah.
And if there were an opportunity to have a mentor, I didn't respect the person enough to want to be like them. And so I found many mentors. I couldn't afford them. I couldn't afford to go to retreats like the ones that I give now, but I could afford to pay attention to people who were putting free YouTubes online.
Yep.
And I was just like, well, I could put I can stop watching TV and stop scrolling and start watching something that is connected to the development of my personal growth.
Yeah.
And once I found out that leaders are readers, when you find a good book, you keep reading it and
Yeah.
don't like always keep learning, because if trees keep growing and birds keep flying as high as they can, and trees produce as much fruit as possible and grow as high as possible, put their roots down as possible. And if I'm human nature, take off the human part and I tap into the nature, why wouldn't I want to grow as much as possible?
Yes.
Because humans been given the dignity of choice. That's why. I don't feel like working out today. I don't feel like doing this. Maybe I'll do it next week. All right. See, the sun doesn't have that. Sun is like, I don't feel like shining today. It's going to shine even during a thunderstorm. It's just behind the thunderstorm, but it's still shining. The
Yes.
trees going to still grow. The rain is still going to come. The ocean is still going to do what oceans do. Birds are still going to fly. I don't feel like, can you imagine the trees that provide all the oxygen? I don't feel like providing oxygen today.
Yeah.
It's no wonder why they're so abundant.
Yeah.
And there's longevity. I don't believe that humans have longevity in this lifetime vessel because we don't operate from our truest self.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were saying in response to my question that we would need to be in our community. So when you surround yourself with those positive people in your community working towards the same direction, when do you go back to your old community? When do you recommend I go back and maybe I then can be a beacon, a leader, someone that they could look up to in my old community? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I go back 4 times a year.
Oh.
But see, I go back to see my mom and I go back to see my favorite teacher. Anytime I go back, it's not I go back to be a beacon of the community. I go back to recharge. And I just so happen to be a different person. And then people in the community is like, wow, I'm inspired. But I don't go back to be like, look at me, like, see that I've changed.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to be a changed person going back. And so, you know, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was talking down on my community at one time. I was like, oh, nobody's ever made it out of Missouri City and things. I shouldn't have said that. That was actually my ego talking. Because sometimes it's really hard to leave all that you know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really hard. Like it was difficult for me to like leave all that I know, but I knew I was meant to leave. And then when I left, you know, what I should have done is just like really stayed just connected with some more of my friends and giving back more to my schools and things. And this is what I'm starting to do now. But yeah, no, I just didn't know because I didn't have any guidance on how to go back home. But now knowing what I would have done different, anytime I went home, I came back to recharge so I never forgot my roots. Like I would hang out with my best friends that I grew up with, or my favorite teacher, climb the same tree, go back to my elementary school, my middle school, my high school, just to feel and never like, but I could not stay home because the bird will never know how far it can fly until it leaves the nest, till it leaves the nest of comfort. So one of the greatest things that I did was actually leave so that I could experience life.
In prison, did you have a plan then about when it was going to be over, when I finally get out? What were your thoughts in that moment?
Well, I got busted for, I was in the height of my modeling career. I was in commercials, on billboards and magazines, but I was so greedy for money. You didn't get paid right away all the time. So I found an opportunity where I could just make money the same day, which is driving this vehicle over this border, over this ferry. I knew that what I was doing was bad, but I didn't know exactly what I was doing, like how deep it was, who it was deeply connected to, because a boss has a boss has a boss has a boss, and it was associated with some of the most dangerous people in certain parts of Europe. I was like, wait, hold up. I didn't know all of that. I thought I was driving this car, but it ended up being 6.2 kilos of heroin, and I'm the most anti-drug person you'll ever meet. So I'm getting busted for drugs, and I am serving a 12-year sentence in a French prison.
God.
So it was difficult for me to wrap my head around what was I thinking. This is what greed will blind every other beautiful opportunity to see beauty in your life.
Yeah.
Greed, insecurity, hatred, gossip, and I was all of those things. I mean, I was more of that, but I was a lot of that. Yeah. And more greedy than anything. I was like, I want to get money now. When I was in prison, serving a 12-year prison sentence, I thought my life was over. So it took me a while to adjust that this was actually my reality. It actually took me like 2 years. Once I adjusted to this reality that I wasn't going to get out, I let go in my mind of trying to get out. And I said, what can I do in here that I wouldn't normally do out there? And then my mind started thinking about other things. And then I remembered that I loved art, that I loved to run, and that I loved to sing, and that there's a lot of things that I remembered that I forgot that I loved. So I started doing all those things again. While I was doing all of those things, it was like my brain, there was something in my brain just going, and I was becoming more peaceful and more calm and more focused. I stopped using my dominant hand, which was my right hand, started using my non-dominant hand, which I didn't even realize exercised a different part of my brain. And I just started training myself to adapt. And once I adapted to my environment and I had an epiphany, I know why I was in prison, because while I was free, I used to say that I'm in prison so far away from where I'm supposed to be. I felt like I was in prison in my body. So that's when I realized I've manifested myself in a French prison, like straight up. And I'm like, now I know. When I was a little kid and I got away from breaking in the cars and I never got caught, I always knew it would come back.
Yeah.
You know what? That I was paying the price for every time I didn't get caught for doing something. I say, you know what? I'm going to just take this one on the chin. And when I let that go, and then I said, I put myself in here because I told myself I was in prison. Now I'm a free man. What would a free man do? And a voice inside said, everything you used to love to do as a child that made you the most happy. Singing, motivating people, running, drawing. And I just started doing that over and over and over.
Yeah.
Magically. 2.5 years into a 12-year prison sentence. They retested the drugs. They had no reason to retest the drugs. They tested the drugs 3 times, 6.2 kilos of heroin. When I felt free, in losing my freedom, and this is very, very important, in losing my freedom, I discovered my freedom. And I realized true freedom is not outside of you. It's the power to possess your own mind. And when I became free in my mind, magically they retested the drugs. 90% was fake. And for the amount that was real, they said, you've already done the time. You're free to go home.
Whoa. Incredible.
So when I wrote on my book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, it's because I have so much evidence on what happens when you start thinking different and you cause a seismic frequency shift in your body And when you shift and have a new paradigm and you have a new outlook on life, this plastic universe has the power to shape it into its reality based off of who you're being.
I gotta know, when it was time to be released, how do you make a decision of where to go? At that time, you're fluent in the French language.
Yep.
You already were living in Europe.
Yep.
How did you make your decision?
So when you're from another country, they will send you back to the city that you flew into. So I had to go back to New York, but the crazy part about it is I had to wear handcuffs the whole ride because they banned me from that country. I had to wear handcuffs the whole ride and had to ride with a security person, and they didn't take the handcuffs off until I got into U.S. soil.
Oh, wow. I know this is going to sound weird. So I speak Russian, and we know Brittany Griner was arrested and imprisoned in Russia. I haven't heard her speak
Something
Russian.
about that story didn't add up to me. It never added up to me.
Oh, no, you and me both. I've never heard her speak Russian. I'm curious because I love the language because I speak it. So for you, even to this point, speaking French, does that have a negative connotation? Is that from a bad place, bad memories?
It did at first. I hated everything about any French person. If your name was Francois, I hated you. It's like everything. But then it was like, if you harbor hate for any reason, that's like throwing battery acid on your future. And the hot air balloon can't leave the ground unless you release the weight. So I'd start a forgiveness practice and letting go of resentment towards anyone or anything or any establishment or anything that has to do with what I was holding, because anybody that you give the power to change your state of being ultimately becomes your God, because whatever has power over you becomes your God.
Yeah.
And so when I relinquished and let go of all of that and started to forgive and let go of resentment and forgive myself and love myself, I mean, it was great to know fluent French. And now my daughter goes to a French and Spanish only school, and she's only 3 years old. So I'm teaching her French, and she's learning French and Spanish simultaneously.
Yeah. Wow. I like that. I love languages. So anytime I find someone, especially an American, who is trying to become fluent in another language, I always ask them, why is it so few of us that do that? I lived in Europe.
I'll tell you, because especially 20 years ago, the majority of countries, especially in like pop and urban and hip hop culture,
Yeah.
they patterned everything that they did off of us. So we had way more distractions. That's why you could go to Europe and like Tommy Hilfiger, and then you go and get a Tommy Hilfiger outfit 20 years ago, but it would be Tommy Hilfiger outfit from 10 years prior. So everything was like out of sync as it became to like pop and urban culture. It was just a season behind. So it was much slower. Well, that's because there wasn't a lot of things to focus on outside of America. I mean, there were things to focus on, but the cool shit, the pop shit, the TV shit, a lot of stuff came from who is like Britney, Justin Timberlake, and all this other stuff. And they had some, but it was much fewer. It's a lot more in America. That was like top of the world. So because it was all geared there, what that told me, as far as language goes, if there's not a lot of distractions, you have more time to focus on certain things.
Yeah.
in like New York and California, you'll be, I'm an actor, I'm a model, I'm a this, and you're like a million different things because there's so many different things to get yourself into.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even my daughter, she would pee in the bed, she would poop in the bed, she was all this other stuff. We took all the toys out of her room, we took all the books out of her room, no more pee, no more, because she could focus on what was actually important at that time. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's the same, it's human psychology. And when there is not a lot that you're attracted to going on in your country, it would be so easy to focus on 5 languages rather than a million different toys and a million different video games and a million different pop songs and this thing and that thing and who's cool and this and cool that, and it's wild, bro, because when I lived in the UK and I told a black person in the UK, an African person, that I'm black, they looked at me and they're like, no, you're American.
What?
You can see where the domestication is going. But this is the thing. It wasn't a thing until it became popular, and now it's culturally, globally accepted to call someone, and I want you to get this, who does not have white skin, like white skin, white. Yeah. I'm not stupid. This is the color of white. White. Yeah. Where does that come from? Okay, black. I know the color of black. Where does that come from? This is caramel. Now, yes. I choose to identify with that, but I'm Americanized who's traveled to 98 different countries and learned. Most people ain't learned about no other cultures. We were on a whole different island, and then it just got popular. And so, but to be all technical, we're all shades of wheat. You look up shades of wheat online, and you will see every color of every person you have ever met: Chinese, black, just like African, Japanese, Russian. Every single shade is inside of shades of wheat. Yep. So that came from somewhere. So these are part of the distractions to manipulate the mind to not be able to see what you actually see. So that when you do see what you actually see, they'll call you crazy.
Yeah. Your book, in Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, you talk about the power of shifting thoughts.
Yep.
What's the first step someone should take to rewire their mindset?
Find what it is that you want to shift your mindset to.
Yeah.
And why that's important to you. If it's not important to you, then it's not going to have any pull. So if you want to be like, oh, I want to be successful and I want financial freedom, why? Oh, because I want money, why? Oh, because I just need to pay my bills. Why do you want to pay your bills? Because my mom was never able to pay her bills and I hated seeing her struggle, and I just want to make a name for myself because no one's ever made a name for themselves, and I want to be a positive role model for the next generation. Boom. That's why. That's what's going to get your ass up out of bed. That's what's going to make you make the phone calls. And so to be able to shift, it's got to be a strong enough reason why. But is that going to work every time? It's not going to work for me, Garrain. Oh, really? I was like, you got any kids? Yep. Do you wake up early? Nope, I'm not a morning person. What if you found out in the middle at 1 o'clock in the morning that a building that your kids were in right now was on fire? Would you be like, I'm not a morning person, I got to brush my teeth and see what I look like? Nope, you get out, get in the car, get in there as fast as you could.
Yes.
Because you know why and you see
Yeah.
the value.
Man.
So the shift will happen when the value proposition is clear inside, because it's going to light your soul on fire.
Yeah. They got to find that why and see the value. All right. We kind of talked about this a little earlier when we mentioned confidence, but a lot of people struggle with self-doubt. What are some practical ways to break free from negative thinking patterns? And you being a successful entrepreneur, best-selling author, maybe you had some doubt. Maybe you didn't. But
It still
what are
happens.
some
It
ways
still
to break
happens now,
free?
but it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
I want you to everybody to write this down. Create a game that you actually like playing. Like, this is the game of life.
Yep.
You have self-doubt, but you're looking at screens all day. You go and drive. You can't stand traffic. You listen to the radio all day, watching movies all day. What if you put on your TV screen a word of affirmation that is empowering your higher self? What if when you go to brush your teeth every single day, you got to look in your mirror, you look in the mirror almost every single day anyways. What if you leverage something you already do every day and then put something like, I am a powerful force of love and freedom, inspiring greatness within myself and others. And you're like literally telling yourself who you are rather than living a life based off of what you think other people think you are.
Yeah.
Put it in your car, put it in your purse, put it in your computer screen, put it on your desktop, and create a vision environment based off of how you want to see yourself. When you start doing that, it's like a commercial.
Mm-hmm.
You keep seeing it, next thing you know, you're at this fatty foods place eating this burger that you weren't even planning to eat at until the commercials got into your subconscious mind. You know, when you listen to a song, you're like, I can't stand this song. And they play it and play it and play it. Next thing you know, you sing it in the shower. You're like, it grew on me. No, actually what happens is it gets into your subconscious mind, and whatever's in your subconscious mind is the impregnation of a woman, and whatever you keep feeding is like based off the nurturing of the favorable environment that the implantation of the seed is determines what's going to grow physically. It's like a baby grows in the woman's womb. Okay,
Yeah.
well, whatever you keep feeding your mind drips into your subconscious. That's when it's impregnated, and you keep doing that. All of a sudden, what's impregnated is what the continuous repetition that is now burdened into your brain.
Okay. I want to talk about with adversity and growth. We talked about hurdles at the beginning. For those who may not know your story, just from what we've talked about, you've faced some extreme hardships, homelessness, crime. They've shaped the way you approach life today. And so if the you 15 years ago met the you today, what are you saying to the you 15 years ago about how to approach life going forward? Do you feel like, oh, I needed to go through that? Or if you would have heard and met yourself now, do you think you could have sent yourself on that path to become who you are now?
So it's really funny because, like I said before, we are multidimensional beings living a linear life.
Yes.
If you got intuitions and you got dreams, that means there's another reality there that is at play simultaneously.
Yeah.
My theory is the now me was saying something to that me in that alternate reality, and those were the little whispers that said, do this, try this.
Oh.
So that version of me is still happening on a continuous rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the shift keeps happening. There's different dimensions of me happening all simultaneously. And, I was talking to somebody else and it's like, I don't believe in multidimensionality. I was like, you have dreams. That's all you need to know. To know that there's another reality at play. You literally have dreams, something where it shuts off your ego and you go into the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Well, in my studies, there's many different realms happening simultaneously. I feel and I believe that the voices that I heard when I got myself quiet enough came from a version of me, this current version of me giving advice in another direction, another realm. So then that one can come. And then there's another one in a higher realm giving these whispers that I'm now getting. And then when I get there, then there's another one. And I think the ultimate goal is to ascend into the transcendent frequency.
Yeah. When you're thinking about personal growth, I feel like there's going to be one or two different ways. You're growing out of discomfort or you're growing out of a want. Do you think that's what it takes for a person to grow? That they want to grow, or almost like you said, I'm tired of seeing my mom struggle to pay the bills.
Both.
I'm tired of seeing us always hurting. What do you think
Well,
the growth
thing about it is you can't see the picture while you're in the frame.
Yeah.
So you can grow to another level, but you don't know what the next level looks like. So all of a sudden you're like, yo, why does the same thing keep happening to me? I already did this work and everything. Well, a weed doesn't need anything to grow but time.
Yeah.
So the weeds of your past can come and overtake your mental garden. So continuous growth is at hand. Sometimes when I don't see it, and sometimes I don't see it.
Yeah.
Life reminds me. Something physically happens to me. But my goal is to catch it before it gets really bad. Because it's clearly trying to fight. It'll start as a little peck. You don't pay attention. It gets louder. Then it gets louder. And it gets louder because something clearly is trying to get your attention.
What role does gratitude play in overcoming struggles?
It's the glue that holds life together. Do you ever see a house? And you see that cement in between the house?
Yeah.
Glue is the cement that'll hold your whole life together. Like, oh, coach, this workout is so hard. Coach, thank you so much. Thank you for making me better. Thank you for making me wiser. Thank you for making me stronger. I am so grateful for you challenging me to rise higher. That's two different people, two different energies, two different outcomes.
Yeah.
Same test.
Many people chase money. They get the money, they still don't seem to be happy. The celebrities that some judge, oh, they got the money too fast. People always say that you get the money too fast. The fame came too fast. Do you believe that fame, growth, fulfillment, success can come too fast?
Well, it's interesting because it's fame is another one of these constructs. You can drive for that and drive right out of your purpose. Fame is a whole bunch of people recognize you.
Yeah.
You drive for people you're basically saying, I don't see myself and I want to be seen. Instead of I see myself in a world full of people who don't see themselves, so therefore I am seen.
Yeah.
So what I say is sometimes people's approach takes them out of their authentic state, and they puts them in a low vibration. And if you're chasing money, we got to break the root of money down. They say money don't grow on trees. But if you break it down, money's a piece of paper with preconceived value that they can tell you on this earth that nobody owns. People can claim to own it. That this is the value, this is how much you're worth, this is like whatever. And so people associate their self-worth with how much money they make. So whenever they lose money, it affects their worthiness.
Yeah.
But money is the least of all values. It's like literally the least of all values. Money is a piece of paper that has a controlled dollar amount by another human.
Yeah.
So if you base your temperament and behavior off of someone else's power and control, you can always be controlled by power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if we break it down even further, we'll just take it to where money actually the root of the money comes from. The mint makes the money, but what creates the paper, you know when they say money don't grow on trees? In the majority of the world where printed money is printed, the majority of money is made from paper. Where does paper come from?
Comes from a tree.
Bark.
Yeah.
Bark. So money is an actual tree. So if you can look at nature and be like, oh my goodness, I love being around these trees. Wow, so much oxygen and everything. You're like, oh, I got money issues in the same breath. No, it's not money issues. You have worthiness issues. Human nature. So when someone can treat this piece of paper with the same value proposition as they treat nature and rivers and the wind and the seasons and all that other stuff, and they give that energy, well, what you do, here's what you give that paper. Oh, I got to pay bills. Oh, I got to pay taxes. Oh, I don't have no money. I don't have no money. What you're saying is, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of abundance. You're not saying it, but you're actually saying it.
Yeah. Man.
So when you look at money and you say, "Ooh, I am more than enough."
Yeah.
Oh, my abundance is overflowing. Wow. When you look at the trees, you're like, look at, as above, so below, as within, so without. So if you're looking out there, but you see something different than you see out there, oh my God, the eclipse, wow. Then you look in the mirror and be like, I hate myself. That's the disconnect.
Yeah.
But if you can wow out there, the goal is to train yourself to wow when you look in the mirror and the truth shows up and nobody is around. And when there is not a disconnect from what's out there and what's in here, that's why you will benefit from nature's resources, which happens to be money.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a holistic way to tap into the abundance frequency.
Garrain, when we were going to come on today, I know maybe you might have had some points and you were like, hey, man, I've been vibing with this the last 90 days, last year, man, I just got to this point. Were there any items, any topics, anything that you wanted to share that you knew, oh yeah, let me get this in there. Maybe I didn't cover that.
I'm a sucker for love. Now knowing what I know, when it comes to fathering the next generation of women and fathering the next generation of men in my household and being a devoted husband and a devoted father. I never realized how much one could change through the domestication of a healthy family.
Yeah.
So underneath everything that I create, all of my artist retreats and healing retreats and personal growth masterminds and all these different things, underneath all of that is a sucker for love that wants people to learn how to fall in love with themselves and attract the people in their lives that they actually want to fall in love with, and give birth to some extraordinary children so that they can experience what I'm experiencing in my family and the level of joy that I get being a present father and knowing that I'm directly pouring into the future generation of our country. And I know for a fact that this is going to make a difference by how the dynamics of family is in the house, which is very different than how I grew up.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for love too. I got 3 of those kids and I love it. I never cried so much in my life until I see them and their achievements, my wife's achievements. So that hits close to home there. Garrain, want to say thank you for your time today. This has been amazing. The time has flown. That's when I know I'm having fun. This is why I do this. You energize me by having me jump onto your schedule and you spending this time with us today. I want you to know it means a lot. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well, brother. Thank you again for the opportunity.
All right. Have a great day, Garrain.
All right, you too. Take care.